Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Podcast with your host, Jeff Lopes. Jeff has over 2 decades experience as a serial entrepreneur, building brands like Kimura from his home basement to a multi-million-dollar global brand that has sold over 250,000 pairs of boxing gloves. Jeff's here to educate, guide, and drive you on the process of bringing your ideas and dreams to reality with the inspiring stories from some of the top business minds.
Welcome to episode number 9 of the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. This week's guest is Justin Ligeri. Justin has been one of our most entertaining guests so far. Quite a history, quite a story. You guys are going to be quite entertained today. Justin is more well known as being the guru of Amazon. Justin's been selling on Amazon even before Amazon became this e-commerce superpower. His achievements are incredible. Just to name off a few: first seller to hit $1 million in one day on Amazon. First seller to have a $10 million month non-Christmas. First seller to ship out 10,000 items in one single day. If Amazon were the Olympics, Justin would be pretty much the Michael Phelps of Amazon. It's a pretty amazing journey. Justin's also going to dive into the current state of Amazon, the good and the bad, and how Amazon has progressively changed over the last 10 years. This is going to be quite a fun story, quite a fun journey. So sit back, enjoy. Welcome everyone to the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. We got a special guest on today, Justin. Justin, say hi to everyone.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Toronto.
Toronto.
Good morning, Toronto.
Justin's from LA. We actually, it was this afternoon for us, buddy. We're 1 p.m. here. Good afternoon to everyone in Toronto.
You're in
Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
I always get our guests to give a little rundown of themselves and who they are, and then we'll take it from there. So you want to give our audience a little rundown?
Who I am?
Who
That's
is
a
Justin?
Very deep, long metaphysical question. Gurus have been debating this for many eons. So from that, I would only be able to answer metaphysically that I am the universe. But who I am as an entrepreneur, what I'm famous for is my grip on Amazon, so that's why everybody interviews me all the time. And I not because I can't turn ash in my hand like Sai Baba. I don't get interviewed for that. No one's like, hey man, we heard you turned, matter, energy into matter. We want to do a podcast with you. Everybody's just interested in what I do on Amazon. So, I do a lot of interviews on that,
Give everyone a little rundown of, I guess, your achievements with Amazon and what got you to this level of popularity with Amazon and what got you here.
No, I'm not popular with Amazon. Jeff Bezos hates me because he's a satanic creature and I represent the light. So I don't think I'm popular with Amazon, but I'm popular with people that like to make money on Amazon. I started about 10 years ago, actually exactly 10 years ago, 2010, at the end of 2010 with $40. And no possessions, nothing, no money, no credit cards, no bank accounts, and $40. And I was able to make a very, very fast growing business on Amazon to the point where I was 3 years in, I was having, $1 million days, but it started with, just hustling, flea markets, and garage sales. And I just understood the system, and the system was a beautiful system. It worked, and there was a lot of traffic. So I thought, wow, a lot of money can be made here. Big business can be built here. So I continued to just, work at it for years, but change with the times as as Amazon changed, as it became more popular, as old systems didn't work anymore and new systems. I was just always ahead of the game. So I was always able to do stuff and be, ahead of everybody else. So I got lucky. I came in at the right time and everything. So that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, not really doing. I wouldn't say I've been doing that for the last 10 years. That's how I've been making money for the last 10 years. It was only very aggressive as far as the work went for the first, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years. And then after that, it was 4 years, I would say. And then after that, it was pretty much passive. And now it's completely passive what I do. Before
you began your journey with Amazon, what were you doing life-wise, career-wise?
I was a degenerate gambler / I made some money online, you know what I mean? But yeah, I advertised online dating sites, pre-apps, pre-swipe app. So this was back like memberships and stuff. And I made a little bit of a passive income, but nothing crazy. And then I always lost everything I made at casinos. So I didn't really ever get anywhere.
So Amazon was essentially your first entrepreneurial experience, like really successful one.
It was the first one I didn't throw away immediately. I mean, I always said like I could have made it at any of these other things if the minute I got my hands on 10K, I didn't immediately make it disappear at a casino. You know what I mean? But from my old system was, and if I have anything that's worthy of gambling with, I'll just gamble with it. So I never got to get ahead. And I had a moment around the time I started Amazon that made me realize that's what I was doing my entire life. So I thought about it. I was like, what happens if it takes me, 3 months to go from 0 to 10K? Would it grow aggressively? What would happen in another 3 months? And then I found out I could make 100K. And then I was like, oh, okay. Then what would happen if another, 6 months went by? Then I learned I could make $1 million. And I didn't know that because I never saw what a year looked like. You know what I mean? Every time I got a few dollars, I immediately gambled. So I actually quit gambling for around 4 years, which allowed me to do $250 million in sales and not get sidetracked into that world.
Are you said for 4 years, are you back into the world of gambling?
I'm not back into it now. No, but I did get back into it in late 2014, and I went on another 5-year gambling, on and off gambling spree with a year clean here where I lost $5 million. But I'm back off that. And the funny thing is I learned something when I quit gambling. Gambling was a drug, that I used, to whatever suppress things. So I learned something really interesting, that quitting gambling wasn't enough. You know what I mean? It's not enough to quit gambling. I had to quit every single drug that I was addicted to in one shot. So about a year ago, I quit in one day gambling, all drugs, cocaine, Molly, Xanax. I quit smoking. I quit alcohol. I quit drinking coffee because coffee is even a drug. I quit woman. I quit. I mean, there was
this is all in one day. But did you go to rehab, or you just put it in your head and say, let's just get this shit done with?
No. Rehab takes months. This was a day. This happened in a second. The first couple of days were tough, but I didn't, I just quit everything in one shot. Because that's different. When you quit everything in one shot, then it's a different game. You know what I mean? Because now you can't suppress with the other thing. Because you quit gambling and you smoke a lot more. You quit smoking and you do a lot more cocaine, and then you're panicking because you can't really relax after. So then you start drinking a lot of tequila, and then you have girls you don't like or whatever it is, and you're just always doing something. And then if you quit everything, maybe you just overeat and just have 4 large cheese and pepperoni pizzas going. You're always going to do something because you need something to suppress that need. Emotion. So the only way to heal the emotion was to quit everything. So that's why I said, well, if I ever want to heal and truly be not an addict, I have to quit everything. So I quit everything, what I call destructive habits, and then I started some productive habits. I became semi-addicted to clothes shopping and addicted to going to the gym. You know what I mean? But they were positive, and they're
how long has this been now?
Almost a year now. Almost.
How's the fitness journey coming along?
Good. I mean, after the whole quarantine thing started, I put on a quick 30 pounds. I don't know how that happened in a second, but now I've lost about, almost 15 of it. So I'm 13 of it, but I have a little bit more. Well, I want to lose 15 to 17 more pounds to be back where I was. And then I need to lose another 10 pounds I want to be more ripped than I was before it started. So I figure right now my goal is about 33 pounds, which I should be able to do in 2 weeks. Cause I have a very fast, my body works very fast to my mind energy. So I just figure out what works. And I decided that 20-hour intermittent fasting spreads work for me. And I let myself eat somewhere between 3 and 6 p.m. I can eat twice in between those 2 hours. So I have a smoothie at 3:30 and maybe 6 a salad. And then that's it. And then I'm just done. It's just decaf coffee for 20 hours, and
it's pretty intense.
This is my new thing. I lost 3 pounds in the first day, so we'll see what happens. But this will be day 3 by the end of today. But I'm not getting a chance to exercise today because I have a full day of energy work. So I'm hoping that with the intermittent fasting alone, I can drop another 3 today without burning too many calories. I won't burn a lot of calories today.
I'm a proponent for intermittent fasting. I've been doing it for a year and a half now, and I'm not as intense as you. I try to have my last meal usually around 9 9:30, and that's a light
I
snack.
can go to 9. I'll just go later. I mean, as long as I hit 16 hours, that's
my goal. That's my goal is always 16 hours.
But like, luckily today might be 22. Like, I mean, because yesterday I stopped at 6. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? I'd probably be maybe like 21. Man, maybe like 1 or 2 o'clock, I'll have a protein smoothie or a little tuna salad or something. So, but I mean, if I get 20, I get 20. That's wonderful. You know what I mean? But if if I'm burning 1,000 calories on the treadmill and Peloton, then I don't have a problem, going 16. You know what I mean? But as long as I get a minimum of 16 to 16 to 22 is the spread. You know what I mean?
So let's dive a little earlier into that. As a kid growing up, and I said we're going to talk a little bit about this. Were you always a hustler? Were you always a hustler? Did you see yourself?
I used to buy Snickers and Milky Way and Three Musketeers and Butterfinger candy bars out of the machine when my dad was in college. And I would run over to other college students and try to sell them because I think the candy bars were a quarter or 50 cents. And then I would try to get 75 cents or $1. You know what I mean?
So you always had that hustler in you. Yes,
I always did that. Like, whatever I could hold, a few candy bars and a few sodas and try to unload the inventory, So
with the Amazon journey, I guess let's talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to grab some other topics. But with the Amazon journey, do you feel like over the last 10 years, Amazon, it's become almost self-destructive? It's getting so overwhelmed, overused?
Oh, I think it's self-destructive, but not because it's overused. I mean, it is truly half. Amazon, this is what people don't understand, right? I try to use a metaphor to explain it to people. Amazon is half the internet sales, right? So just imagine Nordstrom's, right? Just a simple clothing store. We've all heard of Nordstrom's. They do $5 billion annually in clothing sales on their website. Macy's probably also does more than that. You know what I mean? I think Macy's does $6 billion. I'm not really sure the numbers, but these are just simple little department stores. Staples, which is one of the bigger websites, that does over $10 billion in online sales. Billion, right? Okay. These are giant companies. There's eBay, which probably does 40, 50, 60. I don't know how many billion they do, right? So now imagine, that all these stores do all that. Now I want you to imagine that there's hundreds of millions of Shopify sites, you know what I mean, that make Shopify's worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And every single person or small company that has a commercial website in the world using a Shopify site. And then there's all the sites that were pre-Shopify, right? So you have to think of all the websites in the world. And I want you to imagine that Amazon equals every single website in the entire world, right? So there's enough traffic for there to be a lot of users, for there to be a lot of shoppers, and for it to not self-destruct if it wasn't greedy, right? Now, this is my big test in life, because I'm going to build a company that's going to be really big, like an Amazon, but it's going to be more like an Uber, and I'm not going to get super greedy. I'll make myself billions of dollars, but I'm going to allow the whole world to make money too, which is not what Jeff Bezos lets us do. Just to give you an idea of how vast that is in terms of market capitalization, just imagine, right, okay, McDonald's, okay, which has $150 billion market cap. I think I can look at the thing, whatever. But this is a company that's they're doing $4 billion a quarter. So they're worth, 35 times what their quarterly revenue is, $4 to $5 billion a quarter. McDonald's is the biggest restaurant chain in the world, right?
Yeah,
and
of course.
They're not even close. Forget half. They're not even close to 1% of all the food restaurants. I mean, McDonald's wouldn't even come close if you were just try to put it on some type of graph or meter, and you have to show what 1% of all sit down restaurants were in the world. McDonald's wouldn't even come close to 1%. It would be so tiny, even though it's the biggest. So the biggest in the world at something is in the size of world we have is usually less than 1% of the market share, unless we're talking about just needable stuff. Obviously, Kimberly-Clark and Georgia Pacific and Procter and Gamble represent most of the market share there. When it comes to soda, most of the market share is represented in 2 companies, right? But typically, if there are things like that where it's literally there's no room for anything else, But if you come up with something let's say things like vitamins now, you know what I'm saying, or anything you could possibly imagine, even your own business, right? I mean, just imagine how big it is, how many people are in it, right? Worldwide. Think about it. It's a pretty massive thing to think of one company being 50% of the market
share is insane. Yeah, it's insane when you think of the numbers
of the world. That's crazy. And especially if it's not specific, if it's online retail, if it's McDonald's, all food. You know what I mean? All food. Now, Coca-Cola might be 100% of the market share of soda. You know what I mean? Coke and Pepsi, but I mean, these two companies that have most of the market share in soda, imagine if you would have put them just in the food category. You know, every personal, you know what I mean? Ooh, like Starbucks might have a big market share in coffee, but if you calculate them as a sit-down restaurant, now they go underneath McDonald's or maybe even underneath KFC as number 2 and number 3, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to imagine that, you know what I mean? That the company's that vast in its outreach. And then Amazon has completely taken more and more of the money until there's really nothing left. They say, okay, if you know, in the beginning, it's like, okay, we're going to take a third of the money and you have 2/3 of the money. If you run a really tight business and a good operation, you can make a lot of money. And they're like, we're going to take a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, you know, as more and more sellers come in, to the point where they have so much money, they can just keep taking it and say, hey, wait a second, out of a pie of $100, maybe you can survive on only 20 of it. Maybe, wait a second, maybe you can survive on only 20 of the $100 for 7 or 8 months out of the year. And then on those other 4 months, we'll take the whole pie and maybe even overdraw you and see what happens there. And they get so greedy to the fact that at the end of the day, if there's, you know, $1 million at the end of the day, Amazon is not going to stop raising their rates until they get the full $1 million, until there's nothing left, where they expect you with your some other source of income to go buy product, to go pay employees, and, you know, and all the money that you generate on Amazon will go to Amazon, and you won't be able to make a penny. You know, that's their long-term goal, and then they'll self-destruct.
How has that changed? Like when did you see the pattern start changing from? So you said the last 2 years. Was it been the last 5 years, last 3 years? You see Amazon
no, I would
being
say
greedy?
like, you know, you can trace it back 8 years, but it got worse and worse and worse every year. So every year, more and more restrictions, more and more dumb rules, and more money they stole, to the point where, like, you know, there was a time back in 2011 where you could ship in $15,000 worth of remote control helicopters, and if Amazon lost them, they were like, "Oh, sorry," and they put instantly the 15 grand back in your account. Like, it was like, "Oh, that's nice of you," you know what I mean? Like, it was almost like it felt like it was trust based. It was like really weird. Then it became to the point where everybody's, I guess, scamming Amazon. Bezos decided to, maybe he got mad and said, "Oh, I'm going to get them all back." I don't know, but, like, you know, there was a point where Amazon would make policies to make sure that they couldn't repay you for their mistakes. So, for example, I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a checker set and it's a standard size item, and Amazon charges a $3 fulfillment fee to sell it. You want to sell that item for $8, but you know it's a $3 fulfillment fee to sell it. And then also Amazon, you know, let's say takes a 15% commission. So you're going to give them $4.20 of the $8, which would leave you $3.80, which means if you can make that checker set for, let's say, $1.20, then there's about $2.60 in profit, right? Okay. So let's say, like, that's an item that we're profitable on Amazon. And now Amazon decides, well, we're going to come along and we're going to take that checker set and we're going to accidentally measure it as an oversized item, which would mean we'd get a $7 fee plus our $1.20, $8.20, which means every time you sold a checker set, you'd have to come up with the, you know, pay for the checker set and pay your own help, but we would debit your account 20 cents. Instead of pay you $3.80, we would take 20 cents away from you. Now you go to Amazon and say, "Hey, Amazon, look, can you please measure my checker set? You're wrong. It's not oversized." And they go, "Oh, fuck you. It's not oversized? Well, how do we know you didn't send in a bigger one and now you just sent in a smaller one? We don't know. If you're scamming us, we can't give you a credit on the last 3,000 sales. But going forward, you're right. It's not oversized." Well, that's interesting. So how does Amazon measure a checker set that's 12 inches long and call it 27 inches long? How do they make that mistake with their high-tech software? Well, I get it. They're a big company. They got a lot going on. Somebody might have typed in a number. That's fair. I understand that. But I say, Amazon, okay, that's fair. But I don't understand how in 10 years you've made 100,000 mistakes, and how come randomly one of them hasn't been in my favor yet? I mean, I would think if you're a big company, people make mistakes. You're going to make one mistake in my favor out of 100,000, but you successfully made 100,000 billing errors in your own favor and not one in my favor after 10 years. I think maybe this is intentional, wouldn't you think? I mean, just a guess. But I'm just throwing that out there, just a guess. You know what I mean? Or it could have been just like total coincidence that 100,000 times in a row, and like the next one's going to work out for me. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. I just got you on a nice little rant there. That's awesome.
I'm sorry about that.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate it, buddy. No, you're being honest, and honesty is the key factor, right? So you've been in the trenches. You know it probably more than most people. So it's important for people to hear the truth and the facts of what this global brand is really doing to the small consumers, right?
Yeah, and the truth is there's no way to make money on Amazon selling anymore. I retailed for 5 years. You know what I mean? The only way to make money is manufacturing, and the reason is you can set your price. If you had to be, in, response to the prices that are there, and you had to sell at the current retail price, based on what you would buy at wholesale. Not only are you buying at a higher price, by buying the item wholesale versus manufacturing, but you're selling at usually a lower price with multiple competitors, unlimited amount of competitors. I mean, you can get away with making money on an item you sell in something for, a month or two, and you're making money. But if it ever got to be really good, where it's actually making any reasonable amount of money that anybody would else want a piece of, then everybody in the world's going to know about it instantly, because they can see all the items listed, the ranks of the items, right? So it's not possible that you could buy something that's open market and continue to make money. It's actually impossible. It's actually, if you could do it in the scientific experiment, I can say it's impossible to make money on Amazon unless you're controlling the supply and manufacturing the items. I could legitimately say that. I'm not saying it's unlikely, but it's actually impossible.
So when did you get into the manufacturing aspect of it?
Late 2014, I started manufacturing. I already hit. Now, back then, there was still a lot of money to be made in retail based on supply and demand models, right? So I was able to. That was the only way to make money in 2014. 2012, you could make money on normal retail. 2011, 2012. By the time you get to 2013, you had to count on supply and demand models. It was the only way to make money on Amazon. There was no more way to make money just regular retail, but you still could do it with supply and demand models. Now you can't even do it with supply and demand models, because they've taken the buy box and they've limited how high you can sell an item for. So you're pretty much the only way you can make money is manufacturing.
Now with the manufacturing aspect, everything's obviously overseas. Are you personally going overseas to the factories and getting everything set up?
I was. Back when I had less of a diet, you know what I mean? I would love to go to the Intercontinental Hotel and have that all-you-can-eat seafood buffet. But now I don't need to. Just,
So with this all, what has got you to your new journey, which is, I guess, teaching passive income and teaching secrets of Amazon?
Okay, so here's my opinion, right, on everything. I believe we're slaves. I don't believe slavery ended in 1863. I believe that the masses, or you want to call them the poor or whatever, have always slaved since the beginning of time for the rich. That's my belief. I can prove that's truth, right? Okay? And so slavery didn't end. In fact, slavery got worse. In fact, if you lived on a plantation in the 1860s, 1850s, or whatever, pre-Civil War, let's say, in the 1850s, you would probably make more money, in metaphorically, than an average, American makes today. Meaning that the services provided covered your room, your board, and all your basic needs. And most Americans today, over 95% of them, really can't cover those needs. So in a sense, slavery is even worse. And when slavery is fit into a system, when slavery is built into the system. Let me explain what I mean by that, okay? The CEO of Delta makes, I think, probably around $300,000 a day. Okay, the airlines, which mainly include Delta, American, United, Southwest probably got a little bit less because they're profitable, right? Okay, those three major airlines get $25 billion, of which guys changing your transmission fluid and your oil, making $700 a week, are going to give a portion of their check to a big pot that's going to make sure that the CEO of Delta continues to make $300,000 a day. That's fascism, that's slavery. That's when the poor go work to keep the rich super rich. Meaning a guy who makes $700 a week is giving some of his money to a pot that pays the CEO of Delta $2 million a week, right? That's his paycheck. And he has to give some of his 700 to that guy's 2 million. Now, if I say it like that, you say that's absolutely crazy. Why isn't there a revolution? Why isn't there blood in the street? Because we're all a bunch of buying sheep in America. That's what we are, a bunch of sheep. I went to your country once in British Columbia, and I was surprised at how conscious the conversation was for a few minutes with the cab driver. You know what I mean? But in here in America, we are sheep. Not that your prime minister is nothing short of a child-eating maniac, okay? But, my point is that at least America is the source of non-thinking in the world. Europeans still think, Canadians still think, you know what I mean? Only in America do we have no ability to think whatsoever and to get all our information from a tube. Now, back in the day, they'd call me a conspiracy theorist. On 9/11, I said it was an inside job. Not 10 years later, not after Alex Jones came out with videos, on 9/11. On that day, I called it an inside job. There were very few people in America calling it an inside job on that day. I was one of them, right? Okay? But I lived in a country where the president of the United States was blaming some 6-foot-tall Arab guy that used to be a CIA agent. Okay. But we live in a country today where the president of the United States, the head of our government, agrees that everything on that TV is a lie. He goes out every day and says, by the way, guys,
everything they're telling you is a lie. The head of our government is telling you that it's all a fucking lie, and we still believe it. I mean, like, it's not even like you have to be a conspiracy theorist anymore. The president is a conspiracy theorist. I mean, like, come on. Like, at what point are we going to get it, you know?
With that all, I'm going to jump into COVID-19. Let's we talked about it yesterday.
My favorite topic.
Let's talk about this, buddy. Let's talk about it as a business. Let's talk about how do you find it has affected. I'm sure you have a lot of entrepreneurial friends. How has that affected them? And what's your mindset on it all?
A lot of people are going into the mass and trying to sell a PPE. My brother's doing well. A lot of people are doing well. I got lucky because I had a rescue guard backpack that I made for earthquakes, and I had about $2 million worth in stock, enough to do about $1 million in with the water and food that I was able to sell. So my numbers went up when the virus started, even though my summer stuff is lower. I mean, I think it was designed to destroy the economy. It was designed to dethrone Trump. I think we haven't felt it yet because the market's rigged. So I just lost $1/3 $1 million in the market betting against the market because it can't. I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Big Short, but they did that to him.
Yeah,
too. Like,
I have. Yeah,
knew the housing crash would crash, but he's losing millions and millions of dollars betting against the market until it finally does crash. But they're trying to squeeze the shorts out because so what they're doing is they're basically saying, okay, even though there's been the first time in human history that there's been no revenue for half the first quarter, there's going to be no revenue for the whole second quarter. We're going to rate these companies to be more valuable than they've ever been, and we're going to have the longest. We have the longest dead cat bounce in the history of the world. 30 days. We've had 30 to 32 days of a rush in the market, which has never happened in history before. The market should be suffering right now, but instead it has had the largest increase in history and the longest increase in history, which is the scam. But eventually it's gonna reflect what's really happening. 20% unemployment or whatever it is. I mean, the highest in history, and I have a pretty good idea for a business I'm I'm creating, based on where the world's going now, and I'm pretty motivated about it. But it's just. I think it's just intentional, and it's designed to create a bigger gap between the rich and the poor. Think about it. Rich people in times like this, people that have $20 million houses in Bel Air, they're not going, oh shit, fucking COVID-19, I'm out of work. No, they don't fucking work. You know what I mean? So their house prices are going up. You know what I mean?
They're finding. The rich find opportunity in situations like this to buy, right?
Exactly. Well, exactly. And the poor. The problem is it would be a totally fair game if it was completely based on energy, which is the way it's designed in the universe, right? But the reason it's not a fair game is because you can never catch up to like many thousands of years ago in life. And so if you take a banker that lived 1,000 years ago in the Crusades, and he's sending his money and his gold down to the next banker, and the next banker, down to the Rothschild, JP Morgan, everything down, and then he wakes up with $5 trillion off the books and $5 billion on the books in this society. He has the ability and the power to just do things, to buy skyscrapers, and that puts him just so many lifetimes above, where someone's just starting out is. So someone like me, just starting out, with nothing in this life, I can make myself, so many millions of dollars, which is fine, and live a pretty good life. But I can never play in their world unless I'm one of those 1 in a million. I come up with the Facebook or the Uber or something. Then if I'm a 1 in a million entrepreneur, 1 in a 10 million entrepreneur, then I can play and I can join that club. But I can't really ever join that club unless I'm a 1 in 10 million. You know what I mean? And I don't care about money that much. I care about stuff. So one of the things motivating me about my new business is I think I can really help the planet, help the economic situation of the planet with this new business, and not be greedy like Bezos or Bill Gates. And so I'm excited about that.
Your new business, how long have you been working on this plan, and where did it come to you?
I thought about it 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't know. I've thought about it for a few years, but I hadn't ever thought I'd actually start pursuing it. Like I never thought I'll actually do it. You know what I mean? Because it's an app and it's going to be a big investment, and I'm going to put millions into it, and it's all or nothing. It either makes me a billionaire or it just fucking flops, right? But then I had this complete belief in myself recently, and I said, why aren't I doing it? I don't want to hustle backgammon on Amazon for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? It's like I want to do something with my time. I don't really work on my Amazon business. It's totally passive, right? So, and it's all based on the amount of money I have. So right now I could make, if I had more, I could make more. I could make about 3 or 4 million by the end of the year. But if I had more money, I could make 9 million. I mean, and if I really had unlimited money, I could sit for an hour and make another SKU that makes $500,000 a year, and it would take me an hour maybe to do, so it's like, I'm only limited by how fast I can grow on Amazon, how much cash I have up front to produce. So I was thinking about it. I was like, at the end of the day, yeah, I'm going to turn my money double, triple, quadruple on Amazon, but I'm never going to make billions, I'm never going to get rich, you know what I mean? And so this idea I like because it puts the whole world back to work, and it gives everybody a chance to be in business. Amazon originally did for us 10 years ago, everybody just to start a business. But this actually allows someone to start a business with nothing. Almost everybody can start a business with under $200, you know what I mean? And that business can be a multi-million-dollar business with no financial capital with this new idea I have.
One thing, okay, so currently right now, am I correct in saying that you teach others how to create passive income? Is this something you're doing right now?
I mean, I don't know if I would say that's like a full-time thing. I used to do seminars around the world and speak on stages and really, really talk about Amazon and help people with it. I haven't done that in 2-3 years, really. I mean, it's just my Instagram. I post a quote each day on Instagram or a story, and sometimes people will DM me and ask me a question, and I'll answer the question. This is how it's done, and blah, 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 or I'll do an Instagram live. I did one a few months ago where I actually showed them me making a new SKU from scratch. Like even me buying it at a local company to test it out before going to China. The whole process of what I was doing, and I did Instagram live, and that SKU took off. And then I referenced it 3 months later in Instagram live and said, hey, if you guys were on, you could have seen that I did this. This is how easy it is. So you can actually see me do it. It's like watching like a professional actually do something. It's harder if it's an athletic thing or it takes some physical thing. You can watch a professional boxer, watch Mike Tyson punch somebody out. It doesn't mean you can punch that hard, right? But if there's certain things, if you're watching, let's say a precisionist, you know what I mean, a piano player, you know what I mean, I guess there's a piano behind me, I use that example, but if I watch a piano player play something really fast, like I'll give you an example, Jeff, okay? If I'm over here on, just to sit over here for a second, right? And I'm just, and you don't know anything, I would say you're not a musician, you don't know anything about piano, and I just start going, you might be like, oh, I can't pay attention. But if I go slow and I'm like, here, I'm playing a B flat chord right here with my left hand, and I'm just going up this B flat.
We're getting the other side. Justin's a musician. That's awesome. With the Beatles behind them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but that's a perfect example. Let's say we do Let It Be, as in the Beatles. Right, this is from Let It Be, right? Okay, so as an example, if I go really fast, right, you might not know how to play the piano, and you might be. But if I go slow, and I'm like, oh. You can copy what I'm doing with my hands, right? Okay, and my point is like, that's what I was trying to create for people, is say, look, if I were Mike Tyson, it wouldn't matter. There's no way you could copy me punching someone out. But if I'm playing the piano and I'm going really slow and I'm teaching you the piano, you can look at where my hands are and you can copy without learning how to all the theory behind the piano, or without learning how to play great. You can copy at least a song really, really slow. Or look at a chord chart and be like, okay, I know that chord, and I'm gonna put my hands right where you have your hands, and that's pretty simple, And so, I feel like that's what I was trying to do with Amazon, is say, hey, look, if I show you exactly from scratch how I take a brand new board game, how I source it, how I do everything from the beginning, then I can show you how easy it is to create an income. Now, I have employees and I have rent, but if I got rid of everything, I have 5 SKUs that make literally a couple $1 million in profit, doing absolutely nothing. I mean, I literally could shorten my business. I'd make a lot more money probably if I had a smaller business, because when you start to grow and you have all the overhead and stuff, you have to create more profits to create it. But the truth of the matter is on a small level, if somebody makes one SKU, and of course there's a chance that income could be interrupted with only one SKU, because things happen on Amazon. They take something off over a test result or over a false copyright claim. So it's nice to have backup, but I can make one SKU and make anywhere between 200,000 and an average of 600,000 from one SKU, and it takes a couple hours, and there's no work after that initial time has been put in. Let's say it's 20 hours to launch.
for a beginner, maybe 3 hours for me to launch, but there's no time to put in after that, and I can have a passive income. So let's say there's a couple in Toronto, Canada, and maybe a police officer and a teacher, and maybe they combined make $150,000 a year, and they got 4 kids, and they're, whatever. How would you like to be able to have 3 SKUs that make $1 million a year? You're both giving up your entire lives to make 150. Why not 3 SKUs where you both give up 9 hours a year to make $1 million? Doesn't that sound better? So I figured, why not show people how to do it?
Over the years, when you talk about SKUs, how many SKUs do you currently have on Amazon?
I got about 1,000. You know what I mean? It's always up and down because I want to discontinue stuff or whatever. I probably have about 500 that I care about now.
And in your history with Amazon, the last 10 years, what if you can name one product that has been your best seller or your most prideful? What would it be?
I have the glow stars. I mean, that just makes. I mean, the stars are just amazing because they cost like nothing to make and they clear. I mean, right now I have a guy selling them for $17.95. They were supposed to be $9.95. They just kept going up and up and up. It's the little box of glow stars, and it's just like makes like 12 times your money, and it's consistent all year. It's probably the best product I ever made. But I look at all aspects of value. But I just had one I ran out of, the backgammon game that was just killing it. It was selling at around what item? It was a backgammon game. It was selling under a 2,000 rank at a $40 price, which was really nice because then it goes up during Christmas. But I think, Rescue Guard is probably my best product ever because it ranges in price from $90 to $190. And when an earthquake happens or a virus happens, it sells like crazy. So you can literally move a couple $100,000 a day. So I would say Rescue Guard is probably my best product dollar-wise ever,
So these brands, have you actually trademarked and created these brands yourself? Or
no, all my brands are trademarked. But you have to understand, when you're comparing a product, you can either compare like your profit margin or overall value. Like my Angel Halo is my highest profit margin ever because I might give them 42 cents, and during Halloween I always sell out over $20, which means I'm making more profit margin on that than ever. But I wouldn't say it's my number one SKU because at the end of the day, the most I ever move is $200,000 during Halloween, 10,000 units, $20 a piece, whatever. You know what I mean? Where I can move $200,000 in one day of Rescue Guard, right? So it's when you compare how good a SKU is, you can compare profit margin, you can rate it by liquidity, how many units sell, or you can rate it by just overall what's best for me. And an item that's doing $200,000 a day and making $80,000 a day profit is way better than an item that's doing $1,000 a day and making $950 profit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So with your new project, what are your plans of initial testing and stuff? Where are you so far with the app?
So once the app is complete on the phone and ready to use,
what are you looking at timelines before it's released?
I'm thinking like maybe late summer. I might have a working app that we'll test all the kinks by fall. Let's say I'm testing the kinks and we're there. I'll do it between me and my friends, just seeing if it works, seeing how it comes up, and looking at the whole software operation of it. You know what I mean? Seeing that it really feels right. Once that's done, I plan on going on a major. I plan on really advertising here in LA, like Santa Monica, West Hollywood, picking some areas, and maybe even going on TV with the low unemployment and saying, "Here's a way you can be in business tomorrow." You know what I mean? And and come to this seminar if you only have
Are you trying to collect a round seed, or are you trying to get investors, or no?
Yeah, well, but I don't want to do it too soon because let's say I have an idea. The idea is worth $10. Now I have a fucking, an actual app. Now the business is worth $2 million. Okay. Now I have an app that's creating $30 million in revenue in LA. Now it's worth $100 million. Like whatever. It's like, for me, it's like, I don't want to, if a company has ability of being $200 billion or $1 trillion, I don't want to sell half of that for $500,000 now when I can just pay for that myself. So I'm going to
self-fund it as much as you can. I'm a strong believer in that. I always tell everybody, the self-fund as much as you possibly can without putting yourself in the hole. Self-fund as much as you can.
I won't do a Series A until I have well over a $50 million valuation, like professional. Like I wouldn't even consider it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I really want to I honestly want to get it going here. I think if I can prove the market here, you know what I mean, in LA, based on that being a tech company, technically, I think it can be, multi-billion-dollar company, and and then the question is, will I sell out for a quick 900 million, or will I? Wait till it all depends. If I have 40 million a month coming in, I probably will say no. If I don't, if I'm like living paycheck to paycheck with it, and I'll take the 900 mil and call it a day. We'll see what happens. I'm not greedy. I don't need to be like super rich. I don't need to buy countries and islands and continents. I'm happy with just being happy.
How long have you lived in LA for?
Just about a year. But even when I didn't live here, I was here all the time. I just traveled for.
Where were you originally?
Well, I mean, I'm from New England and stuff, but I was born in New York, and I had a place in New York the last 2 years, but I was never in New York either. I would go to LA a lot. But the truth is for 5 years, I was just traveling the world. I would get bored. I'd be in New York, and I'd get restless in 3 days. I'd go to London as long as I know I could get some good cocaine, and I'd go to London, and I'd go do a bunch of lines at the W and friggin', in Piccadilly Square. Then I'd be like, oh, fuck the W in Piccadilly Square. Time to go to the W in Barcelona. You know what I mean? And then I'd go there and just do a bunch of shitty cocaine there. And then I'd go to Paris to the Shangri-La and do a bunch of shitty cocaine there and just fly around. Oh, I'm in Japan now. It's hard to get shitty cocaine in Japan, so whatever. I would just fly around the world, you know what I mean? And just I'm in the mood for hibachi. Now I'm in the mood for.
And ask you a personal question, have you ever been married?
No,
okay.
God, no.
Okay, that would be a hard lifestyle to be living with it.
Well, no, I mean, I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted a more normal life. I remember just being like, you know what I mean, just being crazy in that time of my life and saying, okay, I've lived a pretty nutty life, but I haven't enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I've done a lot of drugs. I've had a threesome in every city in Europe, but I didn't enjoy it, right? I was asleep for it, So people say, oh, that's a pretty cool life. I'm like, no, it's really not. I'd love to, know what happened, But I mean, but I really would rather have a more normal life, like the one that I see, the perfect, television.
There's nothing perfect. So let's be realistic with that. But would you like to eventually have children?
Yeah, I'm gonna have kids. I think I have twin daughters. Is my prediction. Then
That's awesome.
That's
awesome. We're roughly the same age, right? We talked about that yesterday.
You're 43. I'm 42. I think.
Yeah. My daughter's turning 14 tomorrow. My son just turned 12. Yeah, buddy. I got a daughter going to high school, buddy. Yeah,
you started a while ago.
Started my late 20s. So time flies.
Nice.
Time flies. Well,
it does. It sucks when it flies and you're alone. You know what I mean? Oh, you might not be alone, but then you don't know. You're something different every day. Your phone charge is missing in the morning. You know what I mean? What country are you in? It's whatever. I want more of a normal life like you. So that's why I quit all my bad habits.
Everything comes in the right time, right? And you can't just plan it. When it's going to happen, the universe will make it happen, kind of thing, right?
Exactly. It's a tricky little universe. It is.
So I'm going to ask you a couple more questions before we wrap it up today. Young entrepreneurs, what would you suggest to young entrepreneurs? Give them information or anything like that for a young entrepreneur starting off for the first time?
I am a real believer that the most basic money is a God-given deserved right. So we should not be slaves. You know what I mean? So don't create slavery for ourselves. We need to create more passive models of business. And we should always be creating a model that works, right? That works for life. And if we're not creating a model that works for life, we're on the wrong foot to begin with. Once we have a model that works for life, then we have to ask ourselves, what's the goal? If we're not focused on the money and we take big risks, then, we're bound to be successful. If we're focused on just doing it for the money and we don't take big risks, then there's too much energy interference, So I have a series of principles I live by, and those principles are, important, and they go beyond this life. They go into parallel lives, and future lives, and everything else. I'll give you an example. When I create this app for the phone, you know what I mean? I'm going to be working on a referral kind of like Uber. I might start at 15%, which is too low for the company to, let's say, be on. But let's say we get up to an average rate of 25%, and I let the host or the user that's making money make 75%. That's going to allow a great economy. That 25% is going to allow me to become exceptionally one of the richest people in the world. And it's going to allow, millions and millions of Americans and people all around the world that didn't have a way to make a living to be in business tomorrow making a living. Okay. But then what I can do is I have two choices. I can be happy that I have billions of dollars and life is good, or I can be greedy like Jeff Bezos and go from 25% to 30% to 35% to 40% to squeeze every human being out so their life is tougher and tougher and tougher, and they don't have nice things and they're not happy and they can't go on a vacation. But I have so much sitting in my bank account, and that's going to affect me in a future life. I'm going to bring in a lot of negative karma from that greed, which is, I'm not a religious person, but I believe that things like the 7 deadly sins or the 10 commandments are metaphors, right? Like they're all
I'm the exact same way as you. Exact same way with that.
So greed is a problem. It wouldn't be biblical if it wasn't, right? So greed can turn it would be a karmic problem. You know what I mean? And another thing is people don't understand the metaphors. Like for example, lust. You know, take lust. Lust is well, people is lust bad? No, you can look at a fucking hot girl and go, oh my god, she's fucking gorgeous, and just work your eyes all the way up her legs. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. What lust means is the lack of. You know what I'm saying? It's the lack of, not feeling fulfilled by the oh, I wish. You know what I'm saying? If you have it and you're happy and you're like, yeah, that girl's freaking hot and she's gonna be sitting on my face in 2 hours. You know what I mean? That's not lust. That's just confidence. You know what I'm saying? You know. So we have to understand the actual sins, right? Sloth, the fact that I have a passive income and I don't work, that's not sloth. I mean, I'm burning 1,000 calories in the treadmill, right? I'm doing shit, I'm creating things in life, right? But I'm fucking lazy as fuck when it comes to work. Sometimes I lie in bed for 6 hours watching Netflix, but then I go work out. It's not sloth. But what is the sin really talking about? What is these? They're metaphors for a very, very extreme example of if we don't master them, then we're fucked up. And we're fucked up in future lives. You know what I mean? And so that's why, to me, I'm not living for this life. You kidding me? I was just living for this life. I'm 42. If I'm lucky, I make it to 84. What the fuck? I'm halfway through. Why would I wouldn't give a fuck about anything. You know, I'm living for my entire eternity, right? I want my eternity to be exceptional, you know?
Well said. Well said. I'm going to throw a couple questions at you. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Superpower, huh? Ooh.
It's curveball.
So many that I want, you know?
Pick one.
I have a monk that can turn invisible. He can make money out of thin air. He can walk through doors. He can be buy local, which I think is pretty cool. God, if I could fly, be buy local. I mean, I could. Oh, I kind of like the Hulk. And I'll tell you why, because I get angry with the system. So I would like to be invincible and powerful, because then I could have a revolution and not be killed. So if I was immortal, I would probably go with immortality.
Immortality.
But not immortality where I can't die. Immortality where I can choose to evaporate. Christ can just get killed on the cross and rise on the third day. That whole concept of he can choose to come back in his body at will, you know. So I'd like to be able to go turn into the Incredible Hulk, start throwing cars and shit, and if the government came with their nuclear weapons, I'd be able to throw the nuclear weapons right back at them. They couldn't do anything to me. You know what I mean? I would be totally invincible, but at the same time, if I wanted to, you know, just leave my consciousness and go, you know, I could go and come back. So something probably similar to the Hulk. But I want to have what's that thing Superman had with the kryptonite? The Achilles heel. I don't want Achilles heel. I don't want
Achilles heel.
Yeah.
No kryptonite.
Because what was the point? You can be the strongest person in the world, and then one little rock makes you completely useless. Yeah. It's
next question. In a few words, if you were to be gone tomorrow and you want somebody to, in a few words, remember you, what would they remember you by? Or what words would describe you? What would you want to be remembered by?
I mean, I was a manifester, you know what I mean? I'm a magician. I make shit occur, you know? That's what people remember me by now, you know? So I think I'd probably stick to that type of, you know, I mean, I guess that I was creating, you know, new limits in the universe, you know, new energies in the universe with my mind, my heart, my whatever, my ability to go further than what, you know, common perception is, to turn the radio dial up much more than we turn it up in our lives, you know?
I appreciate this, buddy. This has been entertaining. I learned a lot about you as a person, which is pretty amazing.
You get a different version of me in the morning than you would
This is awesome, buddy. I'm sure we're going to have you on again as a guest. I really appreciate you taking your time in your busy schedule to spend it with Jeff.
I was in a very busy Netflix and Amazon Prime schedule, so I really had to move a bunch of stuff for you.
That's awesome, buddy. Anything you want to say to the listeners quickly before you go?
I love you Canadians. You're really great. Don't become like Americans. I was walking by these two girls walked out of this store thing, this complex, and I was with my friend. We were going to this underground nail salon, and they said under their breath, you should be wearing your mask. How can you not be wearing your mask? And I was like, oh my God, how sick this world is. We're just a bunch of sheep. We're just a bunch of lemmings going off the cliff. You know what I mean? And we're
through this whole pandemic, buddy, I've never worn a mask or a pair of gloves.
The only time I've had to is when I go. When I go, they make you to go in the store. You know what I mean? They make us now to go in LA. They make us in the store. And I've gotten in almost like 2 fights where I literally almost punched a clerk at the store. So I was like, oh, fuck, I'll wear the mask so I don't, have another issue. Because in LA, what we like to do is we like to let child rapists leave, and then we like to lock up mothers that let their kids play at the park, surfers, stuff like that. As part of our ongoing commitment to safety and and everything else. Just like everything else, what we have is a system of like, for example, last day at my apartment, I saw them spraying Lysol and bleach everywhere. So they're going to kill us to protect us from some virus that has a 99%, 0.9% recovery rate. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is so ridiculous that it's like
it's media driven, right?
It's completely
media driven for a bigger purpose.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have issues with the maple syrup, I think, right, in Canada. But other than that, like, right? Like, I mean, that's a corrupt business, right? But other than that, like, life is, I don't know, you guys, I think, more aware out there. You know what I mean? I think we're just so brainwashed here in America that we will, basically commit suicide. You know what I mean? And hurt ourselves and make ourselves less healthy. No vitamin D, social isolation. All this, how bad the health of the country has dropped during this. We haven't gotten healthier by staying home.
Mental health is such a big issue.
I know. I mean, they're destroying us. I mean, we're basically not able to keep our immune systems up. Our immune systems, which doctors don't study immune systems, stay up based on other, healthy stuff, going to the beach, working out at the gym, having
100%.
Sunlight,
fitness, sunlight. Right now, the amount of stress and anxiety people are facing right now is insane.
Do you think the software psychopath Bill Gates, with his legacy, wants to help poor Black people? Malaria? Really? Are you kidding me? Poor Black people, that's his goal? No. He wants to get a freaking nanotechnology vaccine and he keeps talking about this vaccine, how he wants everybody to get it. Why is he making global health policy? Why is he donating all the money to the WHO? Because, very simply, just like he had his operating system on every computer where you needed him. Come on. Janet Reno almost split him up in the 90s because he told, the computer companies, we don't want Netscape. We want Internet Explorer. We're going to take our operating system out. Meaning he's going to shut down the whole computer business unless you need him. He's going to create viruses that you need. I'm not talking about like computer viruses that you need in software. He's been doing his model, his whole life has been to create something that everybody needs his system or they can't function, right? If you don't have his Excel, you don't have his documents, doesn't matter if there's a better one, like Netscape is better than Internet Explorer, right? Doesn't matter. If you don't have his, you can't operate without his software. So now think about it. His vaccine, what is it going to do? Facebook, Google, they can market to you based on your profile, your searches. Okay, great. Your friends, what were you talking about? Your instant messages. Imagine if there was a nanotechnology and your blood sugar dropped and they knew it was just the perfect timing to advertise you a Snickers bar, you know what I mean? Or Coca-Cola, I mean, come on. How bad is it getting that, that they want to put stuff in our bodies to start to market to us? And Bill Gates wants to be the first multi-trillionaire, and he's planning on, it's an ego thing. Jeff Bezos passed them up. Are you kidding me? This guy doesn't give a about poor black people. He cares about beating Jeff Bezos and being a trillionaire and dominating the world. And he is running global health. But you know what? He's just a cancer cell in this whole body. And we become conscious, Bill Gates gets a heart attack. It's just how it is. Like, he's evil. You know what I mean?
You're fucking awesome, buddy. This has been a fucking pleasure, buddy. You're fucking awesome, buddy. Okay, we're out of here. We're going to end it on that note.
That's a good note.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for being on. At the end of the on the show notes, I'm going to have all the contact information and social media contacts for Justin. If you guys want to get a hold of him, ask any questions, get him on one of your podcasts or one of your shows. It's a wrap, buddy. Cheers.
Cool, man. That's you.
That's a wrap for today. I want to say thank you to Justin for an entertaining, insightful interview. And great guy, great story. Hoping his next journey is even more successful with his app. So we'll keep you up to date on that journey of his. I'm going to put in all the show notes Justin's contact information if you want to get a hold of me, have any questions on selling on Amazon or questions on having Justin as a guest speaker or on your podcast. So I'll give you all his social media and his personal contacts and then website. Like always, I greatly appreciate if anybody could spend a second, leave us a positive feedback 5 stars would be absolutely amazing. Subscribe to us. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell the world about us. We're trying to build something special here. Once again, thank you for everyone taking your time out of your schedules to listen to us. Until next week, always move forward.